Imagine you're at home on a lazy Sunday, hanging out with a friend, when you get a craving for a pizza. So you give your friend $20 and ask him to run to the store and get a pizza for you, and he can keep the change. Your friend, on the way to buy the pizza, accidentally rear-ends someone else in another car, and a month later, you are served with a lawsuit for the damages. How is that possible? Welcome to the legal world of vicarious liability. Vicarious liability, also sometimes called by stuffy old judges the doctrine of respondent superior, is the idea that an employer is responsible for the acts of its employees while they are in the course and scope of their employment. I call it vicarious liability because I think I'm witty, and also because it essentially makes two parties liable for the actions of one. So why in the name of all that's good would we hold an employer responsible for its employees? Well, there are a couple of reasons the courts have raised in the past, but the main reason is that those people who have been injured by someone else should have a means of recovery, and usually the employer or the company is the party you are more likely to recover from. Like most things in life, it probably comes down mainly to money. Like most things in life, it probably comes down to money. The employer, maybe has insurance, is the best means of recovery for an injured person. As a recent example, nowadays we have a lot of people using ride-sharing services, Uber and Lyft. When you drive for a ride-sharing service, you are only required to have the state minimum insurance. If an Uber driver hits you and you are seriously injured, you can make a claim against the driver, but also due to the magic of vicarious liability, you can also make a claim against Uber Incorporated for your damages. And Uber is worth a lot of money. So, to protect itself, Uber purchases $1 million of liability insurance while a driver has the Uber app on to protect itself. So now that you know that there's this thing called vicarious liability, you might be thinking, well, that's not fair. What if a Lyft driver gets a bad case of road rage one day and decides to ram his car into someone else intentionally? Why should Lyft be liable for that? And you, my insightful viewer, are absolutely correct. There generally is no vicarious liability for intentional or criminal acts of employees. But what about all the lawsuits against the Catholic Church, for example, stemming from abuse by priests? How can you sue the church for a crime committed by an individual, the priest? And again, you are very smart, my viewer, because you have put your finger on something the courts have been grappling with for the last couple of decades. Even in these cases, the courts have been reluctant to extend the doctrine to criminal acts, even when you have something as horrendous as a priest abusing a young child. And that is why in cases of sexual abuse, you will see allegations that the church or the employer knew of the abuse and turned a blind eye to it, and therefore there is a separate cause of action against the employer for its own negligence, and there is no need to even argue vicarious liability because you're arguing that the church was negligent because it failed to remove the priest from the situation and then therefore contributed to the abuse of the minor. And finally, coming back to our initial situation where you had given your friend $20 to go to the store for you, yes, the defense to your lawsuit that you received is that your friend was not actually your employee, but an independent contractor, which does negate vicarious liability and probably would be a good defense to the lawsuit that you received. And there you have it, the doctrine of respondent superior. If an Uber or Lyft driver hits you, call me. $1 million.